Number 10. The Shark and the Parasailer. A tandem parasailer was having the time of his life, right up until the point when he was almost eaten by a shark jumping out of the water. This insane attack happened on the Red Sea, just off the coast of the city of Aqaba. The victim wasn't identified, but according to the local police reports, he lost part of his foot, severed some tendons, tore some muscles, and broke a few bones in the terrifying ambush. The shark must have thought the guy looked pretty tasty hovering above. It burst out of the water, tried to bite his legs off, and then just swam away. It was a shark sneak attack. In fact, it happened so fast that nobody was able to identify what species it was. The people in the boat were only concerned with getting the injured parasailer out of the water and away from the hungry shark. He has since made a recovery, but he'll probably never go parasailing again. Number 9. Violent otters. A group of violent otters have been caught ambushing people and their dogs in Alaska. This is crazy because the last thing you expect to be ambushed by while taking a leisurely stroll is a pack of cute little otters. Yet that's exactly what's happening in Anchorage. So far, there have been at least 3 confirmed attacks by this rogue band of otters. The attacks have gotten so violent that the Alaska Department of Fish and Game have asked residents to be alert and to take precautions whenever they're around a local lake or river. One of the attacks involved the cute but vicious critters ambushing and injuring a small child back in September. The attack of the child was definitely the most brutal. Aiden Fernandez, just 9 years old, was filming a group of otters in a duck pond with his brother when one of the animals diverged from its group, slipped under the water, then jumped him. Aiden tried to get away, but he was too slow. He tripped, the otter pounced, and then it tried to eat him alive. According to the boy's mother, Tiffany Hernandez, her child was rushed to the hospital with fang marks all across his back thigh and on both of his legs. He had to receive a rabies shot at the emergency room, but made a full recovery. Later that month, there were 2 more attacks from the same group of otters, one of which involved them mauling somebody's dog. So far, the otters have not been apprehended and are still at large. If you live in Anchorage, watch out! Number 8. King Tut and the Monkey. A shocking new theory says that the legendary Egyptian ruler King Tutankhamun may have been killed by a baboon on a rampage. King Tut died 3,300 years ago at the age of 19. His sarcophagus was uncovered in the Valley of the Kings back in February of 1923. But ever since his discovery, scientists have been speculating as to his cause of death. It was believed that he may have died from malaria or even from a congenital deformity found among the Egyptian royalty due to thousands of years of inbreeding. But even with our modern technology, these theories have never been proven. One of the more bizarre ideas is that King Tut was beaten to death by a pet baboon. This theory comes because of 2 things. First, there is evidence on his mummified body that he suffered a severe trauma to his torso, perhaps by being hit by a chariot wheel or by a strong monkey's paw. Then there are the pictures of baboons that archaeologists found right above his sarcophagus. The images of the baboons suggest that whoever made the images inside his tomb wanted to show the beast that killed him. Of course, this is the least popular theory, but it's still interesting to consider. If true, it would mean that over 3,000 years ago, the most famous Egyptian ruler ever was ambushed by his very own pet monkey and killed. What do you think? Could King Tut have been killed by his pet baboon? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Number 7. Devoured by a crocodile. A 44-year-old scientist has been ambushed by a crocodile and eaten alive. This horrifying incident happened in 2019 in Indonesia's North Sulawesi province, at the northern tip of the island. It was in the town of Rano Wangko, popular with foreign tourists and especially divers. This scientist was the manager of a facility that actually houses a bunch of crocodiles. One of them, for whatever reason, really didn't like her though. During feeding time, the crocodile waited until the moment was just right. Then it sprang and ambushed her, literally climbing almost 6 feet up the wall to grab the scientist by her arm and drag her down into its pen. This woman didn't have any problems feeding the crocodiles normally. She simply leaned over the wall to throw them their food and they waited patiently below. But this crocodile was in the mood for something else to eat. Other employees at the facility found her mutilated body in the croc's cage hours later. Sadly, they were unable to recover the body because the crocodiles were too busy feasting on it. To go in and try to get her would have been way too dangerous. After all, These crocodiles are over 15 feet long and weigh hundreds and hundreds of pounds. In the end, the employees were only able to pull out her skull and some of her legs. As for the hungry crocodile that did the killing, it was later transported to a nature recovery center where it was euthanized, and the rest of the woman's remains was pulled out of its stomach. Number 6. Venomous ambush. Lucia Carna, just 3 years old, was hanging out with her grandmother in Mandurah, Australia, when she was ambushed by an extremely venomous snake. The young child nearly died from the venom that was injected into her veins. According to doctors, the only reason she survived was because her grandmother knew exactly what to do in the case of a snake attack and quickly performed first aid. Here's how it all went down. The young girl was standing in her yard near a small pool. She screamed to her grandmother that she saw a snake, but before the grandmother could intervene, the snake had already struck. Acting quickly, the grandmother made sure that the young girl stayed completely still while she wrapped her leg in bandages and waited for the ambulance to arrive. These simple actions made a huge difference. According to snake experts with the Perth Zoo, the best initial treatment for a snake bite is to keep pressure on the wound using bandages. This actually prevents the venom from circulating throughout the bloodstream, preventing cardiac arrest. While this isn't a perfect cure, it does give the victim extra time before paramedics can offer more assistance. As for the snake that bit this poor child, it was identified as a dugite. The dugite is a relative of the eastern brown snake, though significantly less venomous and less aggressive. While they don't have the most potent venom in the world, they are still poisonous and can definitely kill. Have you ever been bitten by a snake? Let me know in the comments below. Number 5. The logger and the tiger. Deep in the Russian wilderness, Mikhail Shabaldin was working as a logger. He was staying in a remote accommodation with other workers, far from any hospital and far from civilization. In the middle of the night, he woke up and needed to use the toilet, so he wandered away from the camp to do his business in the forest. It was then that Mikhail was ambushed by a massive Siberian tiger, the biggest cat in the world. Tigers are natural ambush predators, meaning Mikhail never saw it coming, especially since it was in the middle of the night. But unfortunately, we don't actually know all the details. All we know is that according to his coworkers, they woke up to find Mikhail gone. They discovered some scraps of clothing at the edge of the woods with a trail of blood and what appeared to be human innards leading deeper into the forest. They also found tiger footprints, which confirmed what they were all thinking. While using the toilet, the tiger grabbed him from behind and dragged him off into the darkness. And to make things even worse for the poor man, or at least for his family, nobody found his remains. The tiger likely ate every last piece of him, then left his bones in some quiet corner of the woods. Number 4. Elephant ambush. Emile Moussavu, 68 years old, was walking near his small village in a remote part of Gabon, Africa, to check on his animal traps. It was an ordinary day for Emile, performing a task he had done thousands of times before. But on this day, things changed. He had his back turned, and from out of nowhere, an elephant ambushed him. Somehow Emile didn't hear the big guy coming. For such a huge animal, the elephant crept up on him with eerie silence. When he did hear a noise, it was too late. The elephant had pierced his left leg with its tusk and then threw him into the air. And just like that, the elephant was gone. It was almost as if the elephant was playing some cruel joke on him. When Emile hit the ground, the elephant was already disappearing back into the forest. He had to crawl all the way to his village, where the locals helped take him to the nearest hospital to recover. Number 3. Hungry coyotes. In California, groups of wild coyotes are on the prowl. Specifically, they've become a huge problem in a seniors community in the San Jose Evergreen Foothills area. Residents living in a community called The Village recently told ABC 7 News that aggressive coyotes have been attacking them and, in some cases, trying to eat their pets. Diana Holcomb explained how she was ambushed and terrorized while trying to walk her dog. It happened in May, with Diana taking her small Maltipoo for a leisurely stroll around the neighborhood. But from out of nowhere, a group of coyotes ambushed them. She tried to get away, tried to take her dog with her, but a coyote picked it up in its jaws while Diana still had hold of its leash. In a second, the coyote snapped her dog's neck and blood started gushing everywhere. There was nothing she could do except run for her own life. And believe it or not, this was not the first time that a dog was killed by these coyotes. Residents have reported at least 7 injuries and 14 fatalities in the last year alone. The community residents have even started arming themselves with weapons when they go on their morning walks, and even buying specialized body armor for their dogs. Number 2. Attack of the cougar. In a bizarre showdown between a man and a large cat, the cat ended up without a head. In West Kelowna, Canada, a man and his dog were ambushed by a massive cougar. It happened while they were out in the forest, pretty far from civilization. The cougar snuck up behind the golden retriever, latched onto the dog's neck, and tried to take off with it. But the man was no stranger to wild animal attacks. He pulled out a machete and chopped the cougar in the neck with it. Now it was the cougar's turn to try and run away, but the man wasn't having any of it. He hit the giant cat again and again until he separated its head from its body. Sadly, the man's dog died from his injuries, but the brave canine had given its owner enough time to realize what was happening and get his machete out. It's always sad to lose a dog and a cat, but at least the guy walked away with his life, and his dog died a hero. Number 1. Loose pit bulls. A 67-year-old man was recently sent to the hospital in critical condition after a violent ambush. The older gentleman was mauled by a pair of pit bulls let loose in northwest Harris County. Deputies responded to the call at about 6:30 in the morning. The man had been going for an early walk when the dogs crossed the street and attacked him without warning. Amazingly, the whole thing was captured by home surveillance. Deputies described the footage as horrific. You can see him back away from the animals in the video and getting knocked down and ripped to shreds. But the event gets even more violent. One of the neighbors heard the man's cries for help and went to rescue him. Elmer Levine, a retired sheriff, ran outside and found the victim on the ground. The dogs literally had him by the face, trying to rip his head off. To stop the animals, Elmer shot one right through its body, but it still wouldn't give up. Even when the cops arrived, the animals were still out of control. An animal officer also showed up on the scene. One of the deputies shot another one of the dogs, but the animals still didn't stop. It took bullets and bravery to finally get the beast under control, and by that time, the victim was almost dead. When paramedics arrived, they had to give him 2 units of blood before taking him to the hospital. He was immediately transported to surgery and is now in stable condition, though he'll have serious scars on just about every part of his body for the rest of his life. The dogs were handed over to animal control and will most likely be put down. The owner of the dogs has since been charged with a 3rd-degree felony for allowing his animals to get out and cause bodily harm. Thanks for watching! What do you think is the worst animal to get attacked by? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos like these. See you next time, and be careful! Bye!